Here's my reaction to Chiesa joining Liverpool for £10 million. He's going to be Arne Slot's first major signing in the transfer window. Obviously, the goalkeeper, Mamardashvili, isn't going to be playing this season, really. So, Chiesa, 26 years old, Juventus, Champions League player, international winner with Italy, joining Liverpool, and it's Arne Slot's first major signing. We're going to talk about the player, how he fits into Arne Slot's system, and if he's a good or bad transfer in the Arne Slot era. An overview has to be that Chiesa a couple of years ago was one of the most exciting young wingers in world football. And you say winger, I think winger is actually a limiting term for Chiesa. He can play anywhere, left wing, right wing. You can even play as a false 9, as a number 10. He's an unbelievably talented, two-footed, pacey winger. And you have to kind of question, why is he going for £10 million? Now, obviously, Italian football hasn't got the most money in it. Juventus maybe want to free up a bit of money themselves. But obviously, the big reason is the injury concerns around Chiesa. In the last few years, he's had 22 different injuries or kind of ailments to his body that have affected his ability to play football. He hasn't played much football, about 40-odd games in the last couple of years. Obviously, had a major ACL injury at the start of 2022. So that's the big issue. But injuries, I think, when you make videos about footballers like I've done for many years now, I think it's a little bit limiting to talk about injuries. You have to assume that the medical staff that have kept the likes of Salah, Mane, Firmino, all these guys that run through brick walls for Jurgen Klopp in particular, these guys stayed super fit, mega fit. So you have to back any football club getting into a transfer, especially when medicals are involved. You get to learn a lot about a player's body. And the Liverpool side have said, medical side have said, we're going to sign him regardless of the ACL concerns that maybe Juventus have and other clubs have. Because I remember a couple of years ago, these guys were quoting 80, 90 million pounds for this kid. Obviously had far more time on his contract, so harder to get out of Juventus. He was one of the most exciting young wingers in world football. So an overview for me is, if he gets anywhere near that level for even 80% of his time at Liverpool, the deal, I can predict it now, it's the easiest video to make. It's the best deal Liverpool are going to make in many, many years. He's that good. He's a Champions League level winger. He's one at the highest levels. Obviously, the Euro 2020 campaign was unbelievable. His quality of finishing, some of the goals you see him scoring, instinctive finishes, nutmegs past defenders. He's got an unbelievable left foot, an unbelievable right foot. And you think, I can just guarantee you now, if he can stay fit, he will be an unbelievable signing for £10 million. £10 million is the interest that Chelsea are going to have to play up, pay for some of these guys. I mean, Mudryk probably has wages that are over £10 million a year. So to get him for a complete fee of 10 million rising to £12.5 million, it would have been cheap in 2006. So now it's mega, mega cheap for a player of that talent. The big concern would be for me, and this is a bit of a generalisation, Italian players in the Premier League. It's just history. It's not a bias against any one nation. Obviously, only one player ever from Italy's won the Premier League in Balotelli. Not many want to come over because the league and the country is so rich and vibrant. It's a lovely place to play football for obvious reasons. But there haven't been many players that have come over. The big one probably would be Aquilani to Liverpool. Obviously, the Italian midfielder replaced Mascherano. I know it's a completely different era, completely different comparison. Obviously, completely different players, unconnected. But there isn't a sense that maybe the Italian leagues, the lack of intensity in the Italian league, maybe the lack of quality. He's played for Juventus, but only played a handful of times in the Champions League. So we're talking about, does the league really match and mirror and complement the Premier League when Premier League sides sign Italian players or players from the Italian league at least? That would be the big question mark. Then you actually look at his skill set, particularly the international scene. I remember him playing a game against Spain, it was a couple of years ago, unbelievable, smashing past players, obviously played in the Euros as well, and it's a weird one as well because he had some good performances in the Euros, and then I think he was taken off in one of the final games for Italy, and they kind of crashed out early. So when Spalletti needed to trust someone, particularly someone that's achieved at the highest level for Italy, the 26-year-old wasn't trusted, and that's a bit of a concern. I think the narrative around him is that his ACL has knocked a yard or two off of his pace, which is unfortunate. But then you have to look at the wide array of his quality of game. Again, two-footed, links up play very, very well. Very, very good delivery with both feet. His crossing's fantastic. His technique's fantastic. He doesn't score a load of goals. I'd say the back end of his kind of time at Juventus, obviously only, I think, 4 goals in 2 seasons, something like that. And that's down to injuries and lack of form, and a Juventus side that are a little bit flat. Before that, his finishing and the amount of goals he was getting is a lot better. So I think if he can get into these positions for Liverpool, I think he will, by the way Liverpool have started this season fantastically, he's got more than enough to finish. He's got more than enough to be smart and bring other footballers into play. And I think he complements Arne Slot's squad massively. And he brings massive experience for £10 million. You cannot buy experience, particularly in a very, very young side. The big question mark would be the composition of the Liverpool side. Nunes, Gakpo, Salah, Jota, Diaz, who was unbelievable against Brentford. Where does Chiesa fit? It wouldn't surprise me if one of those guys moved on, particularly Gakpo or Darwin Nunes. I think one of them will obviously stay, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of them left with Chiesa coming in. And then you've got Salah, who's a mainstay on the right. You've got Diaz, who's a mainstay on the left. You could see Chiesa play that Firmino role and drop deep and link up play. He'd be more than good enough to do that. You wouldn't expect these kind of lung-busting runs from him. I think the Arne Slot approach to football is far more intricate, dynamic. They nearly scored a goal against Brentford where it was like Guardiola light. And I think Chiesa brings a lot more of that kind of, the first touch is fantastic, the delivery, little 1-2s around the corner, little nutmegs. I think that's what they're signing him for. I don't think they're necessarily signing him to be this lung-busted Diaz, Mane kind of runner, stretching defenders. I don't see him doing that. I think he can do that, particularly if they, as I mentioned at the start of the video, sort out injuries, sort out fitness. I think they can definitely get to that kind of level. But I think he could be at that kind of false nine situation, particularly if Jota picks up any more injuries. He has quite a few injury concerns, Jota. Jota starts for me 1,000,000%. But Chiesa comes in, particularly in those Champions League games, 20 minutes here, starting a game there, cup competitions. And suddenly the quality, the overall quality of Liverpool's front line, particularly the kind of quality that Arne Slot's looking for. He's not looking for that same intensity as Jurgen Klopp. He's looking for someone who's got a deft touch, a little bit of nous, a little bit of technical brilliance. I think that Chiesa has that far more than Darwin Nunes. I don't really understand how Darwin Nunes, I think it wouldn't surprise me if they moved him on in the next week. It might be hard financially to do that, maybe a loan. But I see it with Gakpo. I see a little bit of the technical side there. Obviously, the Dutch connection might help for Arne Slot. But I think someone like Darwin Nunes doesn't have that technical brilliance. He's got individual brilliance and individual qualities that are superhuman in terms of speed and power. But I think Chiesa's been brought in to bring a little bit more smartness, a little bit more cuteness, and keep that possession high. If the chance isn't there, I don't see Chiesa blasting things over, missing things. I think he's a very intelligent footballer. And I think that's what Liverpool are gambling on. To get someone of Chiesa's quality, intelligence and experience. And he's 26 years old. We've seen it so many times in football where a player, yes, they have major concerns. ACLs are not a joke injury. But at 26, I mean, it's hard to turn it around at 30, 32. But at 26, I mean, you give him a year and he settles into the Premier League. Could be an unbelievable signing. It's closer to free than the kind of normal transfer rate of the going player these days. You're looking at Wolves centre-backs going to West Ham for £40 million. Chiesa for 10. On that level, I can guarantee you more than any video I ever make, it'll be an unbelievable deal if he stays fit. Obviously, it's a big if, and he has had a few concerns. But at the moment he's fit, at the moment he's joined on a long-term deal. So it makes a lot of sense for Liverpool. I think it makes a lot of sense for Arne Slot. It's a big-name signing. It is. A few years ago, Chiesa was on everyone's list, including Man City, including Man United, and obviously all the clubs in and around Spain and Italy. Obviously, at a big club in Juventus in himself. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think Arne Slot needs more. I don't agree with just him and Mamadashvili in the opening window. I think it's a little bit unfair. A little bit unfair when you see some of these clubs come up. Look at Ipswich, the amount of money that they're spending, for example. Brentford have spent a lot of money in the last few years, gone under the radar. Forest. I think Arne Slot needs a little bit more money spent in that squad. I think he deserves it. I think Liverpool fans deserve it. Particularly in that Champions League run. Liverpool could really have a go at the Champions League. They just need a little bit more in midfield. So there's going to be a few comments about maybe the legitimacy of the transfer based on what they need. Do they need another winger, another false nine? Maybe not. But if he comes in and with another sign on top in midfield, which I think they do need, it's a very smart transfer from Liverpool. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you very soon.